Hey everyone, welcome for coming today. It is the Google for Education Certified Innovator webinar Hey everyone, welcome for coming today. It is the Google for Education Certified Innovator webinar. And today we're going to focus all on the prerequisite for joining the cohort this year, the Level 2 certification. And we're so stoked to be joined by some of our awesome coaches today, a director of certifications. It's going to be a good morning or afternoon, depending where you're at. So go ahead in the YouTube chat if you're joining us, share your city that you're in, your current job role, your Twitter handle, because we all like to connect. So even after today's webinar, as you're still working on your application, you can connect with each other and get some feedback and join the hashtag Google EI community online, even as a prospective candidate. So drop that in the YouTube right now. And you can go ahead and let us know, are you thinking of applying for the Denmark cohort coming up, with application due September 21st and the event November 14th through 16th in Copenhagen, Denmark. So let us know in the chat. We'll give just a moment. Awesome. Hey, Sonal. Great to see you from California. Thanks for sharing your Twitter. Hey, Sarah. Got someone from Indianapolis. Virtual and blended learning specialist. Great. Hi, Ian from Stirling, Scotland. Great to have you here today. Cool. Keep those introductions coming in. We're going to introduce our great squad with us today that's going to share about the Level 2 certification process. We're just going to introduce ourselves like we are right now. We're going to go into the Teaching Center, where you can find your units of study for the Level 2 exam, and then go into the actual exam center where you sign up and actually take the exam. As a reminder, you will need to submit the PDF of your Level 2 certification in your application when you apply for the cohort. And again, that's just at certifiedinnovators.com. If you pull that up today too, that's in our Teacher Center. And you'll see down below when you log in, you can go to apply, and that's where you'll actually pull up the application to apply to the cohort. Hopefully you stopped by our other webinar a couple of weeks ago to learn all about the great benefits of joining this community, and a little bit more about this application process itself. But today we're just going to focus on that Level 2 certification and answer any questions you have. Awesome. Thanks for introducing yourself. With that, I'll introduce our panelists today. We have Kate Petty from EdTech team. Hey, Kate, did you want to introduce yourself and tell us how you work with certifications right now?
Hi, so my name is Kate Petty, and I am in Southern California, so I'm drinking lots of coffee right now. I work with, I'm kind of the liaison between EdTech team and Google for certifications, for Google certifications. And I also am heavily involved with the Google Certified Trainer Program. So if you decide to move on and also get your trainer certification, you'll probably be seeing a lot of me in that aspect of it. And I'm excited to be here.
Thanks, Kate. Excited to hear a little bit more as you walk through this today. Laura, how are you? Laura has a very different environment today. Where are you joining us from, Laura?
Hi everybody, I'm joining you from the UK, where today it is rainy and very grey outside.
Awesome. Thanks, Laura, for joining us today.
That's cool. Thanks for having me.
Ingvi, weather report. Where is it? What's it like where you're at right now?
It is sunny in north of Iceland, where I'm joining you today.
Awesome. Thanks, Ingvi, for coming. Hey, Dan, how are you? Welcome. Thanks for joining us. Weather check and coffee check for you.
Clear skies, sunny in Sunnyvale.
Awesome. And Dan, did you want to introduce yourself to folks joining in today?
Sure. Hey, everyone. I'm Dan Stratford. I'm on the Central Programs team based out of Sunnyvale, close to Mountain View in California, and work a lot on the Certified Innovator Program, and just really excited to see all those wonderful applications coming through, and to meet all of you hopefully soon in Copenhagen.
Thanks, Dan. Hey, Katia, weather check and tell us where you're at today.
Hi, everyone. My name is Katia Blunt, and I am tuning in from my school in Atlanta. Yes, it is hot, but please don't call it Hot Atlanta.
Please don't. Noted. All right.
Noted. I wasn't tempted, but I won't be.
Wait, Dan, what's the Sunnyvale nickname? What's the Hotlanta equivalent of Sunnyvale?
I don't know.
Funtown. All right. Cool. Thanks in the chat, everyone. I see Penny and Michael here as well. Great to have you all. Hey, Judy. Great. And then let us know in the chat too. Are you considering applying for the Denmark cohort due on September 21st? So let us know your plan, and if you're putting in your level 2 certification here in the next 4 weeks. There's still plenty of time, so we're excited to see where you're at in your application process. Cool. So let's dive in, everyone. There's our dates. And then let us know in the chat right now, are you already level 1 certified? As a note, you don't have to submit a level 1 certification to the application, just level 2. But some folks find level 1 and its content helpful in their journey to completing level 2. So let us know, have you dabbled at all with certifications yet, or is this your first go? I'll go ahead and leave the chat open for that for a moment. Cool. Sonal's applying for the second time, level 1 and level 2 certified. Awesome, Sonal. Hey, Svetlana, thanks for joining us from Serbia. First time. Oh, that's great. So whether it's your first or your third, or if you're already level 1 and 2 certified, keep trying, because many innovators get in their second, third times. Cool. So let's go ahead and go to the Teacher Center right now. So if you're at home, I'll drop this link in. This is kind of going to be your home base for not only the Innovator application, but also the level 2 certification. So have that up and you can follow along as we walk through a little bit about using this really nice website. And then, so I'm going to ask Kate to kick us off and share a bit about how to begin. Before you actually take the exam for level 2, you'll notice that in the Teacher Center, it's set up under level 2 to study and to go through these really nice interactive units of study. Kate, did you want to tell us a little bit about these and what the best method that you've seen for studying and getting ready to take the test?
Yeah, thanks, Wendy. So is everyone able to see my screen okay?
Yeah.
All right. So as many of you know, Google kind of has historically offered these two trainer and innovator programs, and knowing that teachers wanted their own certification, they developed the level 1 and the level 2 certification. And we're here to talk about the level 2, but let me just give a quick shout out to level 1. If you haven't taken your level 1 certifications and you're a pretty savvy G Suite user, you know, you're using docs consistently with your students, and you're using slides, you know how to use forms, you've been to YouTube a few times, I would strongly suggest that you go ahead and just try taking that test. It's a $10 exam, $10 US, and what it's going to do is help you prepare and help you really understand. It's almost the exact same test structure and everything is level 2, but at least it'll be on a less higher stakes basis that you'll be taking it just to get that under your belt and just to feel a lot more confident about being able to teach a level 2. A lot of times teachers are able to just pass it with no problem if they've been using G Suite consistently. The only app that I would strongly suggest you maybe check a YouTube video for on how to use it is Google Groups for level 1. But if you've done everything else in Google for a really long time, just go ahead and sign up for that exam and take it is my strong recommendation. So level 2, while level 1 is all the foundational skills of the G Suite applications, level 2 are going to be the more advanced skills. So we're looking at, what can you do with a Google Doc beyond just sharing and commenting on it. So if you go to the level 2 where Wendy had just shown you, you've got your level 1, level 2, your trainer, your innovator. Here's the level 2. We have the get training, we have the get practice, we have the get certified, and then this is where you're going to register once you're ready. And it's the exact same setup for level 1 as well. So if you go into the get training, you're going to see that there are, and you're going to sign in. By the way, so it does keep track of where you're at and keep track of your progress, which is really nice. So you can remember where everything is. But you'll see that these are into units. Each unit, there's 9 units in level 2. Each unit has 2 to 5 lessons that go with the units. And you'll see for unit 1 that it looks like there's about 2 lessons right here. Each lesson is, it says at the top how much time it thinks you should take on this. But if you're kind of moving through it and at a regular pace, all the lessons will take you, if you do them with diligence, about 10 hours total. You've got the unit review at the end of each lesson. If you're kind of a test taker, a savvy test taker, don't freak out if you don't do well on this unit review. Just keep taking the test until you get it right. I promise you that the actual test itself is a lot easier and a lot more. It's a lot easier to answer the questions. So that's kind of it for level 2. Wendy, did I miss anything? Do you think?
No, thanks for walking them through. Just I know that first orientation to the Teacher Center and how to use both the training and then the actual exam part. Thanks so much. Ingvi or Laura or Katia, any kind of this first part of just studying and either doing the unit reviews or walking through that, any tips or particularly with level 2, content that you think needs extra help, like Kate mentioned, Google Groups being one that hangs a lot of people up. Any thoughts? I'll open the floor.
I think Kate kind of covered it. I just think if anything, it's worth maybe not doing the entire study sessions, but looking at the end of unit reviews. If you don't want to go through the whole thing, might be a good idea.
I should mention probably that with level 1, I mentioned that a lot of teachers who are savvy could probably take that exam and pass it. With level 2, you'll definitely want to peruse the curriculum itself. The level 2 exam may ask for you to do certain types of lessons that you'll find in that level 2 curriculum that you may have never seen before. So if you don't, no matter how savvy of a Google user you are, if you haven't looked at those types of lessons before, you won't be able to be successful in those parts of the exam. So just a quick, if you're really good at it, just move through. You don't necessarily have to do all of the activities, but just move through and make sure that you've looked at all of it.
One thing, I think it's important to take level 1 first. Although it was, if you're pretty tech savvy, you should be able to do it, but it was just good to see how the exam is structured, how everything is set up and everything, and it made it a lot easier for level 2 to finish level 1 first. So I'd recommend that, definitely.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Ingvi. Thanks, Katia. Thanks, Kate, for sharing a bit about that. And I have up on the screen, and if you're in the chat, let us know right now if you have any particular questions. I have the level 2 units up here right now, but you can, as Ingvi mentioned, kind of just scroll through and see what you maybe already know. But you can see here engaging in professional growth and leadership, increasing efficiency and saving time, right? So even as you're spot checking through here, advanced features to optimize workflow, analyzing and interpreting student data, organizing your materials, and then facilitating and inspiring student learning. So design interactive curricula, harness power of Google for research, and giving students a voice. So luckily, it's all very pedagogical based. And then when you dive into it, here, if you go into give students a voice, then you can see the actual tools that are inside of that. And then walk through, you know, and I think even finding the one or two things you haven't done very much right. So if you haven't hosted a Hangout on air before, maybe you've been to one like you are right now, but maybe you've never hosted one. You probably might want to unpack this one and look at the technical steps that are involved in that.
Can I mention one more thing, Wendy?
Yeah.
One thing that is kind of hidden in the Teacher Center that I think is really cool for teachers is that along the site here, you'll see something called progress. And when you click on that, it actually gives you the hours that you've been working in the center. So if you need professional development in your district or whatever school system you're working with, we'll let you print and submit this. You may be able to get professional development hours or credits for that.
Ooh, good tip, for sure. So we know that this takes time. We know that your application takes time. So I think that's a really good pro tip to try to get your time accounted for. Cool. Thanks, guys, for sharing a little bit on how you can actually study for the level 2 certification. Let's keep going and think about, and if you guys want to share in the chat, how do you like to study for an online exam? Any tips for doing that, whether that's focusing or scheduling out time? Let us know any thoughts you have. Sonal in the chat, I know you've already taken the level 2 exam, so feel free to share with us any tips that you might have in pursuing this. Cool. Kate, did you want to walk us through a bit when you're, you've already studied, you've gone through some of those training modules. Now you're ready to actually sit down and take the exam. It would be great to walk through maybe just what that step looks like to get into the exam center. Do you think you could show us that?
Absolutely. So here I am in that Teacher Center again with level 2. And as I mentioned, just to get training, get practice, get certified. So when you click on register for the level 2 exam, it'll sign you in. Now, another pro tip is that anytime you need to go into this Teacher Center, I would strongly suggest you never use this URL. You always go the way I just showed you. Just go back to level 1 or level 2, click on register for the exam, and it floats you right into that Teacher Center, which can be sometimes kind of difficult for teachers to get into otherwise. So here is where, your home dashboard where you've got all of your certifications and where they're listed. You're just going to click on register for an exam up here. And for educators, and then you'll click on your level 1 or your level 2 to go ahead and get the exam. Now here's the interesting part. So, you click on this, you go through, you add it to the cart, you pay. But what I need you to not do is kick your family out of the house and put a note up for the mailman to not have them delivered so that you have a quiet space. Google will actually send you an email right after you register that says, thank you for registering, but it's going to be 24 to 48 hours before you get your testing materials. So what they're doing on that end is they're creating a Google testing account just for you. When you actually take the exam, you won't be taking it under any of your Google emails. They'll send you an email to take one under. And that's because what they've done in this testing account they've created for you is they've put documents and added people to this domain, and they're going to ask you to do things with them or add things to them or edit things or create new things within this Google Drive. And then when it's all over, a script is going to run through and check to make sure you have everything in that Google Drive. So it does take 24 to 48 hours for you to be able to get those testing materials. And you could be sitting right next to somebody and one person's going to get their testing materials maybe in 2 hours, and the other person's going to be getting their testing materials in 48 hours. So don't worry too much if you don't get yours right away and everyone else did. It's coming. It's just, takes longer for some than others. Once you get your certification, you can come back to this testing center. You get an email that says if you passed or if you failed. But this is where you're going to always be able to come back to the testing center and get another copy if you've lost that PDF. of your certificate, you can always come back and get that re-emailed to you. One couple of test tips that I have, and I'm going to totally throw it over to the rest of the group for their test tips. But my biggest test tip is to time. I think time is the biggest reason that teachers don't end up being successful on the level 1 or the level 2 exam. So you're going to, there's some multiple choice questions at the beginning. My pro tip is to never spend more than 30 minutes on that first part of the test, the first part that's multiple choice. Never spend more than 30 minutes and always select an answer, even if you're not sure if it's the right one. And then you'll be able to mark it for review. And if you do have enough time at the end of the test, you can come back and check that answer. But always mark an answer, your best answer, keep going, and then get through that bulk, that performance task, that part where they're asking you to create and do things in that Google Drive. When you're done with all of those, you can come back to those multiple choice questions and review them if you have time. So that's my biggest pro tip. My other pro tip is they are going to take a picture of you when you start. And so please, my biggest tip for when they're going to take a picture and they're going to compare that picture to you throughout the testing, just for security reasons. So you're going to want to make sure you're wearing clothing and don't pick your nose. So those are my other two things.
Thanks, Kate. That's super helpful. I know that the technical aspect when you log in can sometimes throw folks for a loop. So great pro tips. And we do have a voucher available for some folks who attended today, who think that they might go for it by September 21st. Where would someone put in that voucher code when they're in that exam center, Kate?
That's a great question. So I couldn't move on because I'd already selected my tests in this account. But once you select your test and click next, to the very next screen, there's going to be an option to either put in a credit card or put in a coupon code or voucher code. So don't put in a credit card, just put in your voucher code for the exam. And please make sure that you have no extraneous spaces before the code and after the code, because it's going to count the code as wrong. And then it is very case sensitive. So my suggestion is to copy and paste, just make sure you don't have enough, any spaces on either end. And then that code will zero out. Once you push, I believe, apply, that code will zero out your part, and you can continue paying, or you can continue the process of buying your exam.
Awesome. Thanks, Kate. And how about coaches? Any other strategies for actually taking the online exam? Sonal in the chat has just shared the test requires a bit of practical application tasks, so try it out as you learn it. So you'll be walking through and doing some of this stuff as you go. And Sonal also shared backwards planning, so take the quiz and the modules to see what you need to pay particular attention to. Yeah, anyone else have thoughts for actually taking the exam, things that help them?
One idea I have is to take the exam on the machine that you are most comfortable with. That way, that's one less unfamiliar aspect for you when it comes time for the exam.
Yeah, I have a tip as well, which is not to procrastinate too much. Take the level 1, get it done. See the level 1 as a really useful learning experience. Don't be afraid of failing it and doing it again. And then do some preparation. Use the resources that are there. They're really good. And I'd like to second what Kate said about the pedagogical approach. Lots of teachers are intimidated by a tech-first approach, and the training resource is really relatable. They're things you want to do in your classroom. So the training is a really useful exercise. So by the time you come to it, you need to have a good block of time set aside. Take advantage of the mark for review function. That's so useful as you go through the test. But yeah, my big tip is just to go for it. Just have a go. Because if you don't succeed, it's really useful learning, and you can take that learning forward into your retest.
Thanks, Laura. And it sounds like someone agrees at your house, too.
Yeah, sorry about that.
That wasn't me, Barton. That wasn't me. But I have a tip, though. It's because if you have the exam open in an incognito window, you can have another computer, or you can have another window open with your own, so you can just try things out. I mean, it's about learning. I mean, even if you fail the first time, you've learned a lot, and try things out, and don't be afraid to fail. Like, it's just try it out, take your time, and and I mean, if it doesn't work the first time, just try it again. At least you've learned something. So it's mostly about that, not trying to get through it and, you know, check off anything. It's about going through, trying it out, seeing if you can learn something. Go to your own account, try it out, and then eventually you'll succeed.
Yeah, to piggyback on Ingvi, definitely it is an open book test, and I don't think a lot of teachers know that. Google doesn't want to know that you've memorized all these things, right? They want to know that you know how to find them and search for them. So having maybe even one computer dedicated to your test and another computer to be able to search for things, just don't spend a lot of time searching for them. It is completely an open book test, and you can search for things and try things out, just like you said.
Thanks, Kate. To just go for it, like Laura said, now is probably a good time to try that. Did you want to share, Kate, the specifics for if you do happen to fail, and then how long they can wait to try it out again?
Yeah, so if you don't pass the first time, you need to wait 2 weeks before you can take the register and take the exam again under that account. So and then the time frame goes up a little higher every time you don't pass. So you try to pass in those first couple of ones. I think if you don't pass the second time, you may have to wait, I believe, 30 days. And it just kind of escalates after that, again, with that account. So you just have to move along, and it gives you a chance in those 2 weeks to be able to kind of practice what you didn't know.
Totally. So yeah, now's a really good time if you are looking for that September 21st deadline. Now in the next week would be a good time to just go for it, in the words of Laura, and try it. And then that way you do still have a buffer time if you do not pass it the first time. So thanks everyone for the great tips. Thanks for the questions coming in. Thanks and all. Fred, the 2019 cohorts will be announced in the beginning of the year. And so if you're interested in Brussels or Belgium, this might be your best one for this year in Copenhagen and make the journey. But yes, on certifiedinnovators.com, you'll find 2019's cohort information. And this may be good planning for you. If you're not planning for the Denmark cohort, it's still a great time right now to get this level 2 prerequisite completed. And it is one that is a newer prerequisite in the last 2 years. The Certified Innovator Program has been around since 2006, and the certification requirement came in about 2.5 years ago. And this ensures that when we are together at the Google office, that you're able to really focus on experimenting and playing and trying to solve your problem with some of these tools versus learning how to use them. So this is all to make sure that your cohort of 36 is up to date on all of these, so you can really focus on solving your challenge. Cool. We already walked through the units. You guys can see on the website itself, there's some more tips buried in there. So if there's specific time limit, how long are they valid? How much do you have to pay? All those small questions are there in the FAQ on that level 2 page. So have a look through there if you still have more questions. And then I'll ask in the chat. So not already shared, but any other tips for taking those online exams, feel free. And then strategies for completing. I think Laura shared the biggest one of just going for it. Schedule time for it, block it out, all these great strategies that have come in to make sure you have that time to take it. And maybe even finding a buddy at your school who maybe wants to do it with you, and sharing that time that Kate showed us earlier as verification of your professional learning. That can be helpful too, sharing that with your administrator as well. Cool. With that, everybody, we're at the half hour. We'd love to invite, if you're interested in receiving a voucher to take the level 2 exam, for anyone who thinks they're going to go for it before September 21st, we'll offer an exam voucher for level 2. You just need to fill this out, and it will come to you in the next couple of days. I'll drop this in the chat as well. And thanks, Laura, for sharing. It's worth traveling to a cohort. The Sweden cohort had 19 countries last year represented. So it's such a global experience, often some of our European events. So thanks, Laura, for sharing that. Cool. Let us know any other questions in the chat. Our next webinar is all about your actual application itself. So this was to help you get acclimated to the level 2 requirement. And then in 2 weeks, our coaches will join us to look at your video ideas and your challenge, which are the most heavily weighted part of your application. So come to that webinar ready to discuss your challenge idea, questions you have, any questions about the short answers themselves. So to prepare for that, you may just want to open up the actual application itself, and you'll see there is a short link to the questions in the document that'll make a copy for you. So it may be great to just have this document ready with your notes on it, any questions, and even, you can throw your short answers to us for feedback. This last webinar is all about making sure you have your final questions answered. With that, I'll thank everyone for coming on the panel today. Thank you so much, Laura. Thanks, Kate. Thanks, Ingvi. Thanks, Dan. Thanks, Katia. Really great to have you. These folks will be working with you actually at the cohort itself. So it's so great to have them here beforehand. Thank you, everybody. And so now that's only for, we're going to close that down after today. So if you want to receive the exam, it's just for folks who joined us in the webinar today. So if you're interested, please fill it out here in the next couple of hours, and then the form will be shut down. So thanks so much, everybody.